We continue with our focus on this power utility now, and we're joined via Skype by Greenpeace Africa's Senior Climate and Energy Campaign Manager, Melita Steele. Thanks very much for joining us on the program, Melita. You're not happy with Eskom either, but what are your issues?
So I think it's fair to say that everybody in South Africa is probably not happy with Eskom at the moment, so we don't feel like we're unique. But earlier this week, Eskom actually itself admitted that the two mega coal-fired power stations, Medupi and Kusile, which are under construction, are underperforming and are not contributing as much electricity to the grid as they should be. Greenpeace has been arguing for nearly a decade now that in fact Kusile should be cancelled. And we believe that Eskom can't keep throwing money that it doesn't have into a black hole and expecting government to bail them out. So we believe at a minimum that the last two units of Kusile should be cancelled and investments should go into renewable energy instead.
Isn't it a question of just fixing what's wrong, Melita?
Unfortunately, it's not. So even if the coal-fired power stations had been effectively constructed, which they haven't been, and the reason that we're having the tariff increases that we're seeing at the moment is to actually pay for the massive debt that Eskom has accumulated because of the spiraling costs. Because of the threat of climate change, building coal-fired power stations at the moment is actually a really bad idea. And both Medupi and Kusile would have been stranded assets even if they had been constructed effectively.
So for you, this Kusile as it stands now should be the end, and no more coal-powered power stations should ever be built again in South Africa?
Absolutely. So to be clear about climate change, it's probably one of the biggest threats that we're facing. The Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change released a report last year which indicates that we have 12 years in which to act to avoid the worst impacts of climate change. Day zero, the water crisis last year, is just a symptom, a taste of what we can expect going forward. And what that means is if we take acting on climate change seriously, then we can't be investing in new fossil fuels at all, and we should be urgently investing in a just transition to shift away from our existing fossil fuels.
All right, that transition may take time. We have a crisis now, so perhaps coal is the way to go for the foreseeable future until that new mix can come online.
So we would absolutely disagree with you on that. In terms of our electricity mix, the one thing that is actually delivering, both on time and on budget, and at the cheapest price, is renewable energy. So South Africa has some of the best renewable resources in the world. What we haven't had is the political will, and even Eskom saying, okay, yes, we recognize the opportunities in renewable energy and we're going to invest in it. Coal is clearly not working in South Africa. It hasn't been working for a long time now. And we can't just continue to throw money that we don't have at a problem that is both killing people because of the pollution, but also driving catastrophic climate change and also leading to load shedding.
What do you say to the labour unions who say that introducing other forms of energy and shutting down coal power stations will see massive job losses? What do we tell them?
Greenpeace believes that there are massive opportunities around renewable energy, and we should never underestimate those. As far as coal goes, it is a massively polluting source of electricity. Almost 85% of our electricity comes from coal. And people's lives are on the line. Eskom itself has admitted that it kills at least 300 people a year, premature deaths, from the pollution from the coal-fired power stations. So people's lives are on the line, and we completely believe that a just transition is required. So the shift away from fossil fuels and towards renewable energy must take workers into account and must prioritize their needs. But there is absolutely no doubt that we need to shift and we need to do it quickly.
And pollution, again, a big concern for you. A report recently that Mpumalanga is the largest air pollution hotspot in the world. Is that true? And is that because of Eskom?
Yes, so essentially what Greenpeace did was we took the most up-to-date satellite data for 3 months last year, from June to August, and we overlaid that data with pollution sources. For one particular pollutant, which is nitrogen dioxide, NO2. And what we found was particularly scary, especially when you take into account countries like China and India exist. South Africa is the largest NO2, nitrogen dioxide pollution hotspot in the world. And the reason for that is because there are so many coal-fired power stations that Eskom owns and operates in the area, which are very old and high.
All right. And the other issue that's of concern to you is that Eskom is exceeding its daily license limits in terms of emissions into the atmosphere?
Yes, so some research was conducted last year which shows that there have been over 3,000 exceedances of Eskom's air quality limits. And it's really concerning to us because after the air pollution map was released last year, the Portfolio Committee on Environmental Affairs actually convened an inquiry into Eskom's compliance. And as far as Eskom is concerned, they're complying. They're saying that they're complying. And there's a real lack of transparency and accountability in terms of what is actually going on in terms of air pollution in South Africa. And it is clear that Eskom is not complying. And the air pollution map that we released last year makes it very clear that whatever is being done around pollution in South Africa is inadequate. And even more so, that some of that pollution actually blows across from Mpumalanga into both Johannesburg and Pretoria.
All right, Melita, we're going to have to leave it there. Thanks very much indeed for joining us. That was Melita Steele from Greenpeace Africa, sharing her thoughts about Greenpeace's concerns and hopes that Kusile's last 2 units not happen at all, and that the future of coal-powered power stations becomes a thing of the past. Now,